Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our virtual program all about birds today. So today we'll be focusing on feathers in flight, as well as learning about what makes birds unique. Throughout this presentation, I will be giving you time to pause the video to answer questions and some time to think. Feel free to take as much time as you need, and you can press play to resume the video. My name is Tyler Cash. I'm an environmental educator for the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies, and I'll be your presenter today. As an environmental educator, it is my job to inspire people of all ages and learn about the natural world, especially about birds. The Bird Conservancy of the Rockies is a conservation nonprofit organization. Our mission at the Bird Conservancy is to conserve birds and their habitats. And we do that through an integrated approach of science, stewardship, and education. So as I just mentioned, we want to help conserve birds and their habitats. So what does it mean to conserve? So to conserve means to protect or to save. So we want to protect or to save birds, but also their habitats. So what is a habitat? You can pause the video here and write down or discuss what you think a habitat might be. So a habitat is a place where an organism lives. It's their home. It's where they go to when they sleep and where they go to just survive. So in a habitat, there are four main elements that a habitat needs in order for an animal to survive. So you can pause the video here and you can write down or think about what are those four things we as animals need in order to survive. So animals need four things in order to survive. We need food to give us energy in order to be able to move around. We need water to keep us healthy. We also need shelter. We need a place to sleep and a place to feel protected, maybe from predators. And the last one I like to think of as space. You might have written down that we need air, which air is totally correct, but we like to call that space. Even if you had food, water, and shelter, if you don't have space to roam or to find these things, that is not going to be a habitat where you can survive. I like to think about if I was to put 100 elephants into my room and I had food, water, and shelter for myself, I would not be able to survive. I would not have enough space. There wouldn't be enough air or any food or water to survive. So what will we learn in this program? We will learn why birds are important. We'll also learn what characteristics are specific to birds. We'll then learn how we group birds into different families based on their adaptations. And then at the end, we'll apply all of these things that we learned, all of these characteristics, and you'll have time to create your very own bird. So why birds? Why are we here learning about birds? For one, birds are really inspirational. They've inspired us for ages when it comes to artwork or engineering. They're very inspirational to us as humans. Birds are also accessible. So no matter where you live, you can find birds. Whether you live in the city or in an apartment building or you live out in the forest, you will be able to find birds no matter what. Birds also provide us an ecosystem service. They control pests and they also disperse seeds of plants. Birds are also considered environmental indicators. They're one of the first groups of animals that will be affected by environmental change. We like to think of that as a canary in the coal mine. So how many birds are there? So in the world, we have around 10,000 different species of birds. In North America, where most of us are probably listening from, there are around 1,000 species of birds. In Colorado specifically, where the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies is located, we have around 507 different species in the state of Colorado. And Bar Lake State Park is a beautiful state park located just northeast of Denver and is considered a birding hotspot. There have been around 350 species seen in that one area throughout the year. So first off, What makes a bird a bird? Think about the last time that you saw a bird. What did it look like? What characteristics are unique to birds? I like to think about what makes a bird different than a squirrel, or what makes a bird different than a moose. So you can pause here and make a list or think about what makes a bird a bird. So birds have very unique characteristics that make them different than any other animal. For one, birds have feathers, which keep them warm and help them fly. They're also warm-blooded, so they generate their own heat in their bodies, just like us as humans. Birds also have semi-hollow bones, which make them light enough in order to fly. Birds have talons, which allow them to catch their prey or perch on trees. Birds also have wings, so the wings help them fly, but not all birds can fly. Some birds have wings, well, all birds have wings, but not all birds can actually fly. Birds also have a tail, and they use their tail to steer when they're in flight or to balance when they're perched. And birds also lay eggs. So I'm sure your list looked pretty similar to this. You might have some others, but these are just some of the amazing adaptations that birds have. So I just used the interesting word, adaptation. So what is an adaptation? You can pause here and take a second to brainstorm. So an adaptation is a physical or behavioral characteristic that helps an animal better survive in its environment. If we think back to the list that we just made, those are all specific adaptations that help birds survive. If a bird didn't have its wings, it probably wouldn't be able to survive. Or if a bird was flying around and all their feathers poofed off, that bird wouldn't be able to survive. So animals need all of their adaptations in order to survive in their habitats. So now we're going to switch gears and we're going to learn about some specific groups of birds. So what groups belong in the waterfowl group? So you can pause here and write down, think, or discuss what birds might belong to the waterfowl group. So waterfowl are birds that spend most of their time on the water. These birds include ducks, geese, and swans. Again, in the duck group, there are many other types of ducks, so you might have written down a loon or maybe grebes. Those are all waterfowl as well. So now that we know what types of bird waterfowls are, what are some specific adaptations that waterfowl have? So you can pause here and write down or think about some adaptations you think are specific to the waterfowl group. So waterfowl, they're extremely strong swimmers. They have those webbed feet or webbed toes. They're adapted to an aquatic lifestyle. So they float, they have waterproof feathers, they really live on that water. They have these broad, flat, and rounded tip bills, which help them filter water out. And most species are migratory. So birds migrate, most animals migrate from one point to another. So birds like to migrate north to south or south to north. And many species of waterfowl, we call them dimorphic. So that means that the males and the females look different. So we can see in this picture up here on the right that male duck with the green head looks a lot different than the female that's a lot more spotted. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So one thing we mentioned in the previous slide is that waterfowl are adapted to an aquatic life. When comparing them side by side with songbirds or raptors, waterfowl just belong on the water. They have oval-shaped bodies that work just like a buoy on the water. They float really well. They have those webbed or lobed feet, which help them swim or dive through water. Their bills will differ in size, shape, and color, but they're specifically adapted with those serrations that kind of look like a bit like a strainer, which helps them strain out water and eat the food that they can catch. And waterfowl often find shelter among tall grasses, so in trees or shallow water. And females usually have the drab or brown coloration, which help them blend in with their surroundings and protect their eggs or hatchlings. And they often migrate in very large groups, which can sometimes be in the hundreds of thousands of waterfowl migrating at certain times of year. All right, so now we're going to move on to our raptor group. So just like we did with waterfowl, you can pause here and you can write down, think, or discuss what birds do you think belong in the raptor group. So raptors are actually pretty interesting. There's actually no universal agreement on exactly which birds should be included in that term. But in practical terms, the definition would exclude most orders of birds. And these would only apply to owls, hawks and vultures, and falcons and caracaras. So birds that eat meat and specifically only eat meat are considered raptors. So what are some adaptations we think are specific to raptors? You can push pause here and write down what adaptations you think are specific to raptors. And a quick reminder of the definition of an adaptation. An adaptation is something that helps a plant or an animal survive in its environment. So think about what specific adaptations raptors have. So raptors have binocular vision. So the two eyes with overlapping fields of view, which allow them good depth perception and great eyesight. They also have eyes in the front they like to hunt, versus eyes on the side they like to hide, like the prey. Raptors also have that hooked beak, which acts kind of like a knife. It helps them tear up the flesh of their prey. Raptors also have really strong talons, kind of those sharp claws. And I like to think of the talons as a fork. It helps them stab their food and help them catch the food. And all raptors are carnivores or insectivores. So a carnivore is an animal that eats meat. All right, now we're going to move on to our songbird group. So just like we did before, you can pause here and write down, think, or discuss what birds do you think belong in the songbird group. So this is kind of a trick question because songbirds, or passerines as we call them, are one of the largest groups of birds. In North America, there are around 25 different families of birds. So you might have written down sparrows or robins or singing birds. Those are all correct. And they're a lot different than a waterfowl or raptor. So let's think about some adaptations that are specific to songbirds. So you can push pause here and write down, think, or discuss about any adaptations or qualities that make songbirds different than other birds. So songbirds, just like their name entails, they have a vocal organ that allows them to sing. And that's why they sing those beautiful songs here in spring. Have you ever heard a bird singing? Maybe think about why birds sing songs. Their appearance varies greatly. So the smallest passerine or songbird there is the little kinglet, and even a raven is considered a songbird. So there's a wide range of size and color that songbirds can be. They also, just like their size, their weights can vary differently. The little kinglet weighs a lot less than maybe a big old raven. So there's lots of different types of songbirds. So think about why birds sing songs. So do you think these two birds on the screen, do you think they're the same species or do you think they're different? So if you said they're the same species, why do they look different? So now we're going to talk about males versus females. So in songbirds and also with with the waterfowl group with ducks. Males are brightly colored because they need to attract a mate, and that's why they sing some beautiful songs as well. So males will be brightly colored to attract mates, and the females are going to be lighter brown and more camouflage in order to protect their eggs. So these two birds here, they're the same. These are both red-winged blackbirds. The one with the red wing and the black is the male, and the camouflaged, the more brown one, is the female. All right, so for our next activity, we're going to take everything that we learned about all of these cool adaptations, and you're going to have some time to design your very own bird. So make sure that you have some of these materials at hand. So you'll need paper, a pencil or pen. If you have crayons, markers, and colored pencils, that helps as well. And be sure you have some imagination or curiosity, because you can use your imagination and design whatever kind of bird you want. So we're going to give you some time to draw your own bird. It can be anything you want to draw, as long as you can describe why it has those specific adaptations. If you design a rainbow colored bird, maybe it camouflages and it lives on a rainbow. Or maybe you're drawing an alien hawk, which eats outer space meat. So you can design anything that you want. You can use your imagination, and you may start. So you can pause the video here and begin drawing. Once you're done drawing, feel free to share your drawings with your classmates, your siblings, your parents, or even your pets. So have fun drawing, and you can pause here and restart when you're ready. So thank you so much for having us in your classroom, as we like to say, with quotation marks. If you have any more questions, I challenge you to write those questions down and try and find the answer somewhere. If we're curious about something, we can usually find the answer to it. I hope you all learned something new about birds today, and I challenge you to share some new knowledge with your family members, or your pets, or your friends. So keep in touch. You can go onto our Facebook and learn more about Bird Conservancy and the programs that we offer, as well as our website as well. We do offer these programs as live programs, so if you want more information on that, you can visit our website. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a good day.